This is going to be a defense of cringe and how important it is. It even felt good saying that. I'm sick to death of everybody attacking people online for doing quote-unquote cringy things, especially when, if you look at it, some of the highest and most highest rating, that is, and most memorable moments online are someone either cringing heaps or, the occasional person getting beheaded by ISIS, which, if you think about it, the fact that they have those views that are so medieval, cringe. It depends what you believe, whatever floats your boat. I'm one of those people that's just been trained into us from university that all beliefs are just moral, because what's immoral? Who are you to say? Who are you to say that beheading someone with a Stanley knife is immoral? Well, who are you? The ultimate question. That made it uncomfortable on a self-help channel, didn't it? It always does, and we'll get into that on the Jordan Shanks channel, and you can check that out. But I want to say that cringe, first off, let's just define what it is. I think that when someone is talking about cringy, I can't remember where I heard the definition from it, but they say that when somebody is being cringy, what they are doing is they are well exceeding what they think their abilities are as to what the actual end product is. Good example, remember that iDubbbz documentary that took Australia by storm? And I don't know why I said Australia, I suppose because that's my global concept. I don't think that there's anything else except for Uluru, Three Sisters, and Great Barrier Reef, and everything else like the pyramids is a myth. But he was saying that he thinks that somebody that is cringy, for an example, is that guy that played Star Wars by himself with his friends and smacking each other. It was really painful. It was like, yeah, okay, look, you are not going to be as cool as aliens that are CGI'd with guys that are in clothes that know ninjutsu or whatever, and they're doing all of the moves, and then it's just got dramatic music in the background. It's never going to look the same, but in his mind, that's what he thinks it looks like. But the reality is it's some fat guy in the South hitting his other friend who starts crying. And that's going to be cringy. And I think in the age of the internet, everything is. It just depends who you are and what your level of evolution is, right? Like, all the things that 15-year-olds think are cool. I'm sorry, I'm a very Bill Murray about this. It's like, once you hit a certain age, you realize, no, that's really fucking lame, right? Like, it depends. And then, obviously, 15-year-olds look at what somebody's doing when they're in their 60s and they think that's extremely boring. But to a 60-year-old, it's profound. So it doesn't matter. It really just depends what demographic is looking at it. They're going to think that it's cringy anyway. And this moves into my central point, which is, and I think that people use the word cringy because it is. That's one of the reasons. But I think the other one is that it is a form of mind control. Because the problem, yes, it's such a big call to just land on you for no reason. Like the video if you thought it was big. That is the laziest call out I've ever done for a like. And I will try and beat that in the future. It's so perfect for cringe as well. But I think that, yes, look, me for instance, right? Somebody who's never done anything cringy in their entire career. This is actually, I've got a very big defensive mechanism about cringy and thinking, yeah, so what, everybody's cringy. I'm obviously going to think that because I am, by trade, the way that I make my money is by doing stand-up shows, yeah? And if you are doing stand-up comedy, the first 10 shows that you are going to do of the show always are going to be cringy. They're always going to be embarrassing. It's because you're testing out the new material. You want to see where the highs and the lows are. You're getting your own groove of what the show feels like to you in your body, in your voice, all of that stuff. So there's going to be a bunch of uncomfortable, awkward moments in it. It's the same as when you are uploading videos all the time, which is what you have to do in the age of the internet. You have to be constantly present in people's minds. Because someone else will take you. That's my cheese. That's what you just got to do, yeah? And so there's going to be all these things that you release, like your opinions are going to be cringe according to people online who don't read. And they saw somebody else that said something that was slightly different to what you said beforehand. And so therefore what you said was cringe because they can't be bothered to think of the other opinion, right? There's going to be that. There's going to be a bunch of jokes that don't land because it's just on the pen and then you just chuck them out. And back in the day, I think that there was this unconscious bias. Say that you're watching Conan O'Brien or something. And obviously, he's an incredible comedian. Don't start attacking me on that. You're not even fighting a war, all right? You're just shooting a fellow ally. I'm just saying how his gun works. It's just, if you are doing a show 5 nights a week, an hour a night, you are going to make a lot of bombs. Even if you have a team of writers. If you have a team of writers, most of the stuff that you write is not going to be good. And then you just the trade-off, I suppose, is when something's live, is you get those magical moments where things are just going to explode and you realize, whoa, wasn't supposed to go like that. And that's going to be the hilarious moment. It's going to be that nice little fine point, actually, really, where a lot of cringy things happen, where it's like, yeah, that's something new. They acknowledged that it was new and it didn't work, and then that turns into a good joke. There's going to be a lot of that. When you are ever present, when you are trying new things, a lot of the things that you are going to do are going to be cringy. It is the price of admission, actually what they used to talk about with, I think it was Franklin D. Roosevelt, it might have been Teddy Roosevelt, the arena. The arena of being in the public's eye. You are going to be criticized daily, you are going to be attacked, scolded. Some of the criticism is going to be fair. A lot of it is going to be extremely unfair, because a lot of that criticism is coming from people that are too scared to enter the arena. Cringe, especially on the internet, is the currency for success. You have to get used to being embarrassed a lot, because honestly, now that I'm older, this is one of the most profound things I'm ever going to say. Get your fucking pen and paper out now and you write it. You etch it in so deeply that it isn't even pen anymore. You're just ripping words into the paper. You want to enshrine this. This is like writing down a 10th commandment. These are your options, yeah? You can be cool in your 20s or you can be a boss in your 30s. That's your option. You like that? I think that was pretty profound. I like it. And it's not cringe either. It's very, very wise. I feel like I should just grow an old Chinese man beard just from that one sentence. That's what I want from you. I want you to write that down. And the reason I want you to write that down is because I was just thinking about this. I was thinking about a bunch of my other friends. I know that I always go on this tangent because, look, life experience is very integrated with self-help. So just shut the fuck up and go along for this ride that you've heard a million times. Look, I've heard Tony Robbins' stories 1,000 times. I'm still entertained by them. Maybe that's just because I have the same mind as a 5-year-old watching Toy Story over and over again now that I think about it. But nonetheless. Yep, went to a creative school. Bunch of people that I went to a creative school with, you would think, like I am, when somebody else in my year, and in fact, we were abnormal in how many people from our year went on to success in the creative fields. It was actually an outlier in how many people in comparison to all the other years. And it was still fuck all, obviously, because it's a creative industry. Sorry, kids. But there was, I think, maybe 5 or 6 people that made a good living and big followings out of it. Bands, particular types of dances, I suppose, in the dance world, if you can even be big at that. But big stuff. Joining the Russian ballet, that kind of, those things. No, I don't know, whatever. I'm not in that world, but I know that you look at all those black and white photos of them and you think, well, they're in Europe. There was a lot of that. And I, as a fellow creative that made it, am always saying to those guys when I meet them, props to you. Because I know how hard it is. It is really difficult in the creative field. It's not that it's more difficult than any field. I truly think this, that if you put the same amount of effort into being an actor that you do into becoming a top shit lawyer, you will be a top shit actor. Unless you're, just in the head with just a ukulele and some cow dancing in a Hawaiian shirt in there. If you're just of normal intelligence, you will be able to do that. However, everybody that doesn't make it, it's very rare to get a compliment from any of them. Really bitchy, extremely resentful, and first to point out all of your mistakes and cringiness. There is a few that are just nice, natural people, but especially when you're looking at somebody in the field, there is going to be that natural jealousy that is there. I get that. There's a normal human condition. I have it myself with people that are far more successful than me. I'm always trying to shit on them and put them down because it's just how the human brain works. I completely understand that. The problem is when I look at it and I think, what was the motivating factor that allowed us to move along as a cohesive group as opposed to them that did not? You know what it was? You want to write this down as well. They were looking for approval from the bourgeois. We were looking for approval from the proletariat. It's the same problem that you see with a lot of terrible comedians that are the ones that you see on Channel 10 all the time. Bad, low quality, terrible strike rate, predictable, pushing the same lame cultural agenda that nobody except for the extreme elite of society like. Bad joke work. Every time that they ever land a joke, it's poorly delivered. There's all of this stuff that just doesn't work at all, but they're pushing the agenda that they want, and therefore that they are in that maneuver, and they're kind of just like people in Soviet Russia that just get up and speak throughout the megaphone, and they're doing it because they're scared of their family going away. It's that same thing. The reason that they're talking about those things is because they know that they're supposed to be talking about those things. It's insincere art. It's obvious to any creative when you look at it that these people are sellouts in the actual phrase of the word. When somebody is a sellout, it's not that they're making money off their art, although a lot of losers do think that. It's more the case that these people are doing money for something that they don't believe in. False art. True art is what you believe in. It is your soul. Anyway, those people wanted approval from people that kind of have ordained in their own minds, and they have the money to propagate this idea that they are, I don't know, the art curators of society. They are the comedic agents of society. They're like, if you were to really boil it down, as Neil Cole-Hackar once said, the people from Channel 10 and all that stuff, they would much prefer a write-up in the Sydney Morning Herald about how brilliant they are as opposed to bums on seats. They would much prefer that. They don't want to relate to an audience. They want approval from a bunch of fuckwits that wear square glasses and go to the opera house a lot, and they don't even like the stuff that's at the opera house. No one does, but they all know that they're supposed to like that stuff, so they just keep clapping it along. It's a pathetic charade that these people live in. It's also the same people, I suppose. You know what I always see as a really good indicator of this, and this is going to piss you off a lot, and if you are, good, I'm saving your soul by saying this. If you think Broad City or Girls or Skins is a good show, you're fucked. And I'll tell you why. Because those shows really are made by people that were in that kind of thing of just like, I want to be in a scene. That's what they're looking for. The whole shows really are about making it in a scene, being accepted in a scene. These sad little anxieties that those people have. I always found those shows detestable. I never realized why it was. It is precisely because of that. It is because it reminds me of those people that they didn't really want fame. They wanted prestige. They wanted prestige from this nebulous idea of these people that gave themselves prestige. So they're buying into a false narrative. They're buying into this strange group think. It's like how cars in the 80s were very square and now they're kind of space agey, and it's purely just style. Like, everybody's driving around in a Tesla now, and I truly think that the vast majority of the people that are buying it, obviously there's status in it because it's an expensive car, but I think that the vast majority of people that are buying it, it's not so much about the environment, it's more, look, I care about the environment, right? Because that is a trendy, sellable thing at the moment. Not that I can talk because that's all I ever talk about on Friendly Shorties, but I don't know, it is important. It's nice. I'm glad that it is a status symbol, but that's the way that most people think, yeah? And as soon as you go into that moving with the herd mentality, you are never going to be looking at what people are actually responding to. Because think about it, it's such a delusion. Anything in the arts field, when you're talking about anything that Screen Australia produces, anything that you see on Channel 10 or like the ABC or anything like that, all of the comedy that is produced on these things is always utter shit. The reason it is utter shit is because all it is trying to do is fit in to this created idea of morality that is a trend in itself that these people have decided for now, and nobody is really at the helm of this, I don't think. I think there is actually like nebulous people at the top that create the culture of society, but this aristocratic culture, a lot of the people that are producing the quote-unquote art for it, they aren't thinking about it at all. They just think, this is going to get me in the Archibald Prize. That's all they're thinking. And so then they will start producing art that is on trend with that, right? But the thing is, nobody the average day-to-day human being is not going to be parting their money to be seeing this stuff. They want to be seeing things that speak to them. And that is true art. True art is the one that ignores all of that, because it's all throughout history. It's always the same thing. The bourgeois fund all of this art, and they fund it to reflect their ideas, their again, manufactured morality of the day. And then there is this other proletariat art that eventually becomes the trendsetter, that eventually becomes the thing that after a while people think, oh, actually, that was profound and deep, because they were actually looking into it, and they were looking at actually what society is, not this idea that people have behind in their French chateau mansions of what they think society is like. Yeah? Sorry, I'm going into this now because I'm going to be bringing this back to Cringe. The whole point is, everybody in those bourgeois proletariat circles of artists, what do you think they're trying to avoid more than anything else? Cringiness. And as a result, everything that they produce is cringe. Bam. I truly believe it. I believe it at my absolute core. I think that if you are going out and you're trying new things, which you just need to do, it is a basic principle of success, you need to embrace cringe. You need to accept that that is the ticket of admission, that you will have those days where people are looking at you and they're putting their noses down on you, and because they're just waiting for an opportunity to do it as well. They are waiting for the opportunity for you to fail so it makes them feel good about themselves. They would much rather shit on you than give you praise. Everybody does. Because it's harder to give somebody praise. Giving someone praise means you think in your mind that you're capable of doing it as well. If you do not think that you're capable of doing it, you are never going to give praise. It's easy to just shut it out of your mind that way. The problem is, and this is the terrible trade-off of it, what happens when you try to avoid cringe? I think that because it's a part of life. That is a part of life that you're ignoring, that you're dulling out, that you're trying to keep on trend, in vogue. When you are doing that, you are never going to be somebody who is noteworthy at all, because you're just a school of fish moving around. But the second thing, and this is the thing that really saddens me about the people that I see there all the time, you know what I say? Because they weren't willing to make cringy shit, wasted potential, and what happens after a while, because they're not producing new things, because they're not testing things, you know what happens to them? They settle in this world that's kind of like that island in Life of Pi that slowly eats away at you. Their life never progresses. Another one, I suppose, is a brilliant film, Eternal, just in case you've seen it. But it's like everyone just gets caught in this time loop, and if you don't kill yourself within the allotted time loop of what it is, whatever it is, some of them's like 10 years, some of them's 3 hours. If you don't kill yourself at the end of that 3-hour loop, a monster comes in and eats you, and then you have to repeat that 3-hour loop. So you either kill yourself and you do it more painlessly, or a monster comes in and kills you and you just repeat the loop anyway for the rest of eternity. And I think that that's what's happened to these people. The more that I see them, the more they look like they're in a denial and they haven't evolved. They haven't changed because they're not chasing anything in life. They're just trying to get approval. And the thing that happens to these people, and you can see it in their eyes, there's a lot of fear. I don't know, everybody always says that hipsters don't exist anymore. Oh, they do. I know them. And these people have this perpetual fear in the back of their eyes. They're always looking around. Every time you ever say anything new to these people, you can see them darting around nervously. As if, is the Stasi going to come in and drag me away? That's what they're thinking. It's as real to them as living in Soviet Russia. It really is. These people think in their minds, I am going to be dragged away from this by the Stasi if I say the wrong thing. And as such, their world becomes more insular. The way that they get up on one another, I suppose, is by being more part of the mold than the other human being is. As such, they do not change. And if you do not change, you regress. You become worse. It becomes more pathetic the older you get. That's your options. 20, you can be cool, But after a while, what is it changes and you are no longer that age. And so what you are doing is pathetic. It's not on trend anymore. You trying to be that trend is kind of like when you see those mums that go to a concert and they're dressing like all the kids are that are like 20 and they're 60 and everyone's just like, that's pathetic. And they can try and do that, but that's the whole thing. It becomes pathetic after a while. Or you can be a boss. And the only way that you can be a boss is that you have to forge your own individual path in life. If you forge your own individual path, you get acceptance from like a clique of people that see what you're doing because you kind of become a leader in your field. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a CEO, by the way. It doesn't. That's like a specific skill set that person has. You can be the chief engineer of that company, but you're making all of the innovations, and all the other engineers obviously are going to be looking up to them, and they are going to be looking up to them because they are the best in their field. That's the only way that you can do that, through relentless embarrassment, through relentless punishment. And if you don't subject yourself to that, there is going to be hell to pay. The hell is that you are repeating something that no longer exists. You become a relic, trapped in a time period. And it's truly sad looking at these people not moving forward. And you know what else you realize with these people? They're not moving forward in everything. It becomes a trap for everything because the prism starts to be, how do I get acceptance? As opposed to, how do I make progress? Acceptance is the exact opposite to progress. Obviously, there's the acceptance of the product that you're putting out, but you get there by pushing forward, dealing with the slings and arrows as they come, doing quote-unquote cringy shit. That's how you get there. Anyway, if you like that, make sure that you sign up to Jordan Shanks. And I think that you should sign up. And the reason I think you should sign up is because I like money. But the other thing is, I think that it is really of massive help. People are saying to me all the time when they come up to me, they're always saying that, my God, this channel has changed my life. And the reason that it is mostly because you are getting somebody telling you all the time, hey, let's get you inspired for the day. Let's get you doing effective things because let's be honest, you're wasting a lot of your life. So uplifting. But I'm wasting a lot of my life as well. That's the reason that I'm doing these videos all the time, is because it reminds me at the end of the day, oh yeah, I've got to strive for more. There's more hours left in the day. I'll do something with them. That's what I want from you. I want you to have that same level of kick up the bum every day. Oh, instead of surfing the net, I'm going to go work on my poems because I want to be the world's greatest poet. And if you do, well, you're just never going to beat that chick that you all had to study at year 12, Gwyneth, whatever her name was. I think she wrote Sunburnt Country. No, she didn't even write that. She wrote something about still flowers. The point is, if you want to be her, that woman that I can't even remember the name of, make sure that you sign up to Jordan Shanks. You will not regret it. Well, just trying to kill time before the button stops because it appears to be frozen. Well, that's not cringe at all, is it?